again, thank you everybody for being here, and give it up one more time for Casey for a wonderful film.
And Mark.
Now, to give you a little bit of context, I've known Casey, we're coworkers. We're coworkers like, 13, 14 years ago, and it's been a minute, and a wonderful content maker and a marketer, and he used to live in LA. We were coworkers together. You moved up to Modesto, and I know that you were very aware of everything I was doing down here in LA. I think you were also very aware of the level of kind of defeatism that I think a lot of LA activists have, because the conditions on LA have just worsened every single year. And I remember when you hit me up and you're like, Roger, we need to talk. Like, there's something really incredible happening in Modesto. We really need to talk. I'm working on this project. I'm documenting it. You wouldn't believe the things that they're doing in the city of Modesto. And then, you proceeded to tell me about that. And then you put the film out, and it's incredible. And it's almost, I'm not gonna lie, it's almost too good to be true, because I feel like in LA, we have so many structural issues that we're dealing with here in LA. It's very difficult to get all the different agencies on board with each other. LAPD and the City Council, or the LA Sheriff's Department and District 1 compared to District 14, compared to, if you know anything about LA, so much of what we do in homelessness here is a shell game. The different districts like pushing homelessness into a different district, and historically that was Skid Row. But now, there are mini Skid Rows all over the city, which is a huge challenge. And another thing that further complicates it is that Culver City is its own municipality. West Hollywood is its own municipality. Beverly Hills. So for the same reason why it's so hard to even get a metro to go through all these different neighborhoods, it's also very hard to get everybody on the same page with a coherent strategy around homelessness. So I look at that, and then I look at what you documented on Camp2Home, and I'm like, this almost seems like a foreign planet, not even just a foreign country. It seems like a completely different planet. Like, how is this even possible? What can we do to even try to do that? So I'm gonna preface that, that's the context. Now, Casey and Mark is also one of the producers and very involved with the project as well. Special guest speaker. He drove all the way down from Modesto. Mark, what's your last name?
Garcia.
Sorry?
Garcia.
Garcia. Thank you, Mark. This question is for both of you. Okay, so you've seen how we're failing in LA. Casey, you yourself are an LA native. I'm so curious, what is it that Modesto is doing that, pie in the sky, maybe we can accomplish here in LA? Like, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, thank you, Roger, for putting this on tonight. I think, ripples make waves, and I think events like this really do have an impact, and thank you, everyone, for coming out. I'm gonna say something that needs to be said out loud. Homelessness is a solvable problem. And everyone in this room, I think, believes that. And I think cities need to believe that. I think counties need to believe that. And the state needs to believe that. And the city of Modesto, in my experience, believes that. And I have to say, and Mark, I didn't know you were going to be in the room, so, this might be a little awkward, but when we first started working together, I was skeptical. How well is Modesto, California doing for homelessness? And I live in Modesto at the time, and I'd see homeless people every day. And I worked at Gallo on Yosemite, and it's a pretty sad, it's a sad state of affairs over there. But a third of the way through the project, and by the way, a little background, we first started the project as a docu-series, so we were gonna really highlight the 5 main pillars of the Camp2Home program. So outreach, the shelter, and job training, job placement, and housing, right? So like those 5 teams that are working in concert together to really make this, a reality. And a third of the way through filming the project, you and I had a conversation, and I said, we need to talk to the city. This is a this is a bigger story to tell. This is a bigger, everyone needs to know what you guys are doing here. And I don't know how Modesto, of all places, is doing this. No offense. But like, holy shit. Like, I think the big moment for me, Mark, was when we were interviewing the chief of police, Brandon Gillespie. And, you know, there's all sorts of preconceived notions that I brought into that interview, you know, on, you know, you just hear things, defund the police, like all these terms. And he started to speak. And the things he was saying in my brain, I'm like, he's talking about defunding the police. You're going to hire a whole team, the community health assistants, the chat team, and have, you know, trained healthcare workers taking calls with dudes with badges and guns aren't? That's wild. And not only they were doing it, but they were scaling it. I mean, I don't even know how many chat team vehicles are on the road now, but it was like way more than when we filmed shot the film. So that was a moment for me where I was like, oh, they're actually serious. And then I met with the mayor and the city manager and then all of the other teams. The Downtown Streets team should be everywhere. The work that they're doing is incredible. And then also their partnerships, the way that the city works with businesses to hire folks in the Camp2Home program is amazing. And then they're working with the community to literally take people from the program and house them in their own homes. Kathy Munoz is a saint. I could do a whole documentary on just Kathy. I mean, it's crazy. And so I think the secret sauce to what they're doing is, and look, maybe this is lightning in a bottle and it's this moment, but I don't believe that. But you've got a mayor, a city manager, a chief of police, and various other programs all rowing in the same direction that actually fucking care. And so I do think that it's copy, paste, repeat. I think that people have to believe.
I'm sorry, bullshit. You cannot copy paste. You're talking about LAPD murders people. It murders BIPOC people, murders queer people, it murders drug users. That's this bullshit. I'm sorry, that is absolute bullshit.
I mean, there's plenty of partnerships like this in LA. It's just hard to accept that the solution is funding, giving more sustainable funding streams to the police or to the Salvation Army, which is like well known for being the highest threshold of all homeless service providers. It's a lot to swallow.
The primary data shows that people solving the challenges of homelessness in Modesto are white. And I've been doing some research throughout that video, which started to feel a lot like propaganda in many ways. And it looks like the citations for homeless people and policies that criminalize homeless people the last 2 years skyrocketed. In 2023, 2024, there's a really interesting investigative article by a journalist at the Modesto Bee that shows like graphs and kind of charges the, what's it called, chat group with the increase in citations, which kind of, made
The chat team does not issue citations.
No, but the data that they share with the police ended up resulting in a sort of massive increase. And I think at the root of the issue is the criminalization aspect. So that's all I want to say so far.
Well, thank you for that. I look, it's a charged subject, and I think that skepticism is super healthy. And if you call them bullshit on it, great. I can tell you I worked on this project for a year, and these people are for real. And if we want to scale it to LA and other cities like San Francisco and Oakland, again, I'm going to say it out loud. It's a solvable problem. Your elected officials need to fucking believe that. And yeah, LAPD's killing people. Well, get a better, you got to elect people that actually are going to make a difference. And that's a hard thing to make happen for sure. But I I can tell you right now, we interviewed a lot of people, way more than we just had in the film, and they're making a real difference. People actually are being affected in a positive way. So I am a true believer. I do think it can be copied and pasted into other areas, but they gotta believe. And I think maybe that's the takeaway is, there are a lot of people in power that don't believe it. So that's unfortunate.
Yeah, I think, and I appreciate everybody in the audience who's got a strong opinion of it, because here in LA, I think we have a right to be skeptical, because I think our political culture is very toxic. I think there's a lot of unwillingness to even take a risk. I think a lot of people here claim that they're public servants, but they're actually clearly angling for a larger career elsewhere, so they don't want to antagonize the police, they don't want to antagonize corporations, they don't want to antagonize real estate developers. Like, we know that this is true. So I think one of the things that I was trying to accomplish by highlighting, this Modesto film is not to say that it can easily be copied and pasted into LA, but I do want to point out the fact that there is a North Star here. There is an example of policies that work. Now, the question is, how do we get people on board? And one of them is having conversations like this. And one of them is actually holding our elected officials to account. Because we all know, accountability in LA is so much bigger than just, I voted red, I voted blue, or whatever. The spectrum of giving a shit and having smooth words and slick words to talk about giving a shit, and then actually putting your ass on the line and creating something that might have some political risk, but some upside that helps people, people who don't have a political action committee, people who don't have lobbyists. That's kind of the crux of the problem here. So I think, that being said, I really want to dig a little bit deeper onto Modesto. How did this even really come about? It seems like this, again, it seems like too good to be true or whatever. How does one get the city council and the mayor and the police on the same page? Do you guys have anything more to add to that? Because what can we take from this? What is the call to action here that we could possibly even do in LA, if anything?
Yeah, again, I think that, I said lightning in a bottle. I am an optimist, and I think that there are, realities of where this can be replicated in other areas. But I think we have a very strong city council. There's some very powerful voices on the city council. And I think that they push hard all the time and hold the mayor accountable and try and hold the city manager accountable. And I think that when you've got a really solid city council, which is tough, and a city manager, and a mayor, and a police chief that are aligned, I think that's where the success comes from. Can that be replicated? I don't know. That's a elected official perfect. What's the opposite of a perfect storm? It's a positive situation that's happened. Do you want to help me out with this, Mark?
I would say I do agree that every community has its own challenge, but what I would ask everybody to keep in mind, this is what we're showcasing here. If you're not familiar with all the statistics, I'm not going to be fully 100% accurate with the numbers, but we're dealing with Modesto, California, a population of about 220,000. You have to keep in mind, right? And we are, according to our point in time count of 2024, was approximately 1,600 individuals experiencing homelessness. So the video that you're seeing is capturing the idea of about 1,600 experiencing homelessness in Modesto, which is a population of about 220,000. So you just have to keep those numbers in mind, right? Especially then when you think of, on top of that layered, our mayor and council are one of the 220,000 that live in the community. So, and like he says, to get all of them when it's a smaller size community, I would say, I know that ideally we'd like to take elements of this, right, and say that other cities can use it as as a guide of maybe what they can do. But you also have to keep in mind the reality of the population size and how it's more of a small town feel. And sometimes when you have that smaller population, you can get your leadership to be on the same page, right? It might be a little bit easier because they all live in the same town. The mayor lives down the street from the person who is the council member of so-and-so, and maybe their families are all friends and the council members are friends, and they actually want to move forward in the right direction. I feel like there's a lot of things that, make that perfect storm of it being able to be possible. And I do want to agree with Casey that I would like to keep some optimism, but there's nuggets of this that other cities, if they're willing to, in their hearts, like we know that there's some people that are in political power that have different hearts and they're not really in it for the people, right? But if we keep in mind, like he says, if their heart is right, these are the scenarios of what could happen. If everybody's on the same page, this is what we can do to bring a change in our community, right? And I do want to start out to say, I do officially, if you see, I do actually work for the city of Modesto, but I'm not here on behalf of the city of Modesto, and all of these words are my opinion. I want to make sure that I say that because I work there, and I am the one who reached out to Casey to kind of put this together because I wanted to storytell the beautiful work that we're doing. But I do want to also make sure that you all understand I'm not here on any official city capacity. I just happened to surprise Casey by showing up today, and they asked me, did I want to come up here and say a few words about it? So I said, sure. So these are all my personal viewpoint opinion. But like Casey's, I just want you to keep that in mind as you watch this, the scenario of the population size, how many experience homelessness in Modesto is about 1,600, and the way that the Camp2Home program the city operates is, like Casey was saying, it's outreach, shelter, job training, employment, and housing. That's how the program is set up. And this was showcasing you how all those elements are working together to help those in our community. And those testimonials, they're not paid to say that. Those are real live testimonials of people that were impacted that we said, who would want to share their story? And we were able to capture that moment right in the video to showcase. And the way that this came about is that I wanted to show, I was helping operate the city's social media, and instead of just showcasing maybe just a picture of what, there was so much of a story to be told because I was seeing the impact, right? And so that's how it came to be that the original idea was just to create some short videos to put on our social media to show our community, look what we're doing to help those experiencing homelessness. Because as you see, when you drive around your community, you might think, well, what is your city doing? Or what we automatically think, even me, even taking off I work there, I would think the same thing. What are you doing to help that person, right? And so we were doing things, and I said, let's make some videos to showcase that on our social media to show those. And then, like Casey says, after you get all this footage, there's so much more of a story to be told. So then we ended up making it to like a 30-minute film to put on our city's YouTube so that our community could see what we were doing. So that's how this kind of came to be. I just want to give you that perspective, and I'll pass it back to Roger. But I just wanted to make sure to chime in and say that's something that I feel like you should keep in mind when you see this.
Thank you so much, Mark and Casey.